Hey, if you're a family-owned business and you're 3, gosh, maybe even 4 generations in, congratulations. I think only about 75% of all family businesses make it through 3 generations. I don't even know what the stats are for 4 generations, but the reason is it's tough. And the reason is the different generations. Different generations think differently, communicate differently, and that's something I think you always have to keep an eye out with your business. Talking here to Rob about this, and Rob, I know we talked a bit about the differences in the generations and how they think and all, and why don't you share what we were just talking about a moment ago?
Yeah, well, it's also, when you think about it, if you can pass through that many generations too, it's always that handoff. I mean, and handoffs can be fumbled with that. And I think we all know, I think in many cases, in businesses and in teams and stuff, you can be working right now with 5 generations, going back to the traditionalists, that are very loyal. Obviously, we know the baby boomers, which are the largest in terms of their drive and push. The Gen X that kind of became a little bit more flexible and independent. Millennials that don't really see anything be guaranteed but still want to achieve. And Gen Z is doing a lot more from more of a diversity and then some other things that motivate them within there. And it doesn't matter how you communicate, what you communicate, and do is there. But I think a big thing, you need to have open discussions, and you can't isolate a particular group, and for things to be open and be respectful.
How do you do that? How do you have those discussions? I mean, the clients you've worked with before, I mean, is it literally a process? You sit down and
it's quite frankly, the biggest thing I think is a matter of acknowledging it. I mean, it's like anything else. You can't hide, if there's an elephant in the room, you can't hide the elephant.
Yeah. Okay.
So you need to deal with that and bring that up and look at it, because it's going to influence decision making. Yeah. It's going to influence perspective. And I think, but the biggest thing is that sometimes we do get into, you see it now, something you get it. Generations always kind of get into the standpoint of, well, this next one isn't going to they're not going to be very good. I don't have a lot of confidence in them. But why do we have that? We shouldn't. And you open those lines of it's the matter to open those lines of communication. And it's also kind of understand, I think, when generations shift, the end of one generation, say the end of the boomer generation and the beginning of Gen X are more alike than they are separate. And then some of the differences start to kind of ingrain within the generations from there.
Yeah, it's funny. It sounds like it almost sounds like it can be an intervention with, okay, here's a place to come together. Let's all be honest with each other about how we feel, or if there's anything that's been gnawing at us, don't hold anything inside.
And be right, and be accepting. I think you have to be accepting. You have to realize, I mean, there are obviously the generations that everything they want to do is somewhat on their phone, and that's how they communicate, and that's what they count on, and that's what they do. And then there are others that aren't quite totally parts of our generations that aren't like that or fall into that trap. And
I know you facilitated some of these gatherings and this opening the heart and opening the ideas and all that before. And if you're getting any red flags or things are starting to happen in your own business where you think maybe it's time to have a sit down and just talk about things, you may need a mediator to help you, and Rob can do that. And Rob, obviously, the owner of Vend Advisors. And if you're on vendadvisors.biz right now, take a look around at some of the other videos he has. And if you're ready to speak to him, just give you a call? Absolutely, 440-590-5298. But this is always a big part. I think even this generation has a big part of what we talk about relative to the culture and building that culture in the business and keeping it going. Okay, great. Give him a call. Thanks again, Rob. Thank you, Randy.